It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is the 11th of February, 2026. This is the C Block. John, I'm going to throw it to you. Anything you want to discuss right now?
Oh, wow. I was thoroughly unprepared to be asked if there was something I wanted to talk about. No, Brad, I love the fact that you talked about, I can't believe that you didn't talk about the KDHX story that's up on St. Louis Public Radio. Usually in Brad's top three, it's a recitation of headlines from St. Louis Public Radio, and they have a banger up about KDHX. Now, when I say it's a banger, I'm not going to read it because I have someone wonderful in my life that keeps up on KDHX news and usually tells us what it is.
Who's that somewhat that's wonderful in your life that keeps up on KDHX?
Her name is Diane Jones. She's a little younger than Brad Hildebrand, way more spry. And she usually gives us reports here about what's going on with KDHX. And usually she gets involved in really petty disputes with other radio stations. I don't know. I guess that's just kind of the way that she is.
Well, John, unless I'm looking at the wrong page here, I'm looking at STLPR right now. The number one story is the Jason Rosenbaum story. The number two story is the Bailey says Illinois GOP should give him a second chance to take on Governor Pritzker. The third story is open school enrollment in Missouri advances through Senate.
Keep going. It's two more. There's one about
KDHX, how community radio station in St. Louis.
Just go a little. Take your one good eye and go a little bit to the right. It says KDHX, how a community radio station in St. Louis unraveled.
You know, this to me, I'm to tell you, don't get me going on this one because of the fact this is a scam with a capital SCAM. This is a scam.
Who's making money off this, though, Brad?
Oh, John, the people are on the board. I mean, I've told the story before, okay? I've been in business a long time, okay? I have had, I don't know how many businesses declare Chapter 11. Most of the time it's Chapter 11, which is the reorganization chapter. Sometimes it's Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is absolute liquidation. We're just saying, okay, we're done. You just essentially, the company just walks away and the bankruptcy court.
But if it's not that, who ends up getting paid and who's making out like bandits in this, Brad?
The board members are, because of the fact that I've asked a couple of attorney friends of mine. They weren't bankruptcy attorneys, but I asked them point blank. I said to them, have you ever heard of a bankruptcy court decision or bankruptcy where it went through Chapter 11 and the debtors got 100 pennies on the dollars? In other words, if they were owed $10,000, they got $10,000. And there was a surplus of $6.75 million left over after the bankruptcy? Because the crazy part of this is that when you go into bankruptcy, your liabilities exceed your assets, okay? So KDHX owed $2 million. And some people say that was an inflated number because there was some inside dealings with some of the people that owned the money. You know, it was like a wink, wink, nod, nod. Hey, do some work for us. And we're probably going to declare bankruptcy, but we're got this thing all figured out where you're going to get your money back 100%. Okay, so 9 times out of 10, if a company declares they have assets they have liabilities of $2 million in this case, their assets are less than that, John, because why would you declare bankruptcy? I mean, you know, like perfect example. If you owed like $400,000 on your house and your house was worth $1 million, okay, but yet you fell behind on your payments, would you declare bankruptcy? Now, some people would because you'd have protection of bankruptcy court. But the idea is you could probably find like a hard money lender or something like that that would loan you the money to keep you out of bankruptcy, okay? So in this case, they owed $2 million, but when the dust cleared, their assets were $8.75 million. Do the math. Put $8.75 million on the top line, put $2 million below it, subtract line B from line A, and you get $6.75 million is what they have in their bank account. And they are the board. They can do whatever the hell they want. If they want to buy all new Ferraris, they get all new Ferraris. If they want to get $200,000 a year for doing whatever they're doing, they get that money. They can do whatever they want with it. I'm saying, once again, KWMU, this could be the same scenario. University of Missouri, you're going to get tired. You're going to roll your eyes because I did John, I don't think Dr. Camille's up for a third time this morning.
No, but he actually filed a temporary restraining order.
But see, here's the thing. you get these not-for-profit boards, and I'm not a big fan of not-for-profits. I mean, perfect example. Remember the gal?
Are you serious? I thought you were a big nonprofit guy, Brad.
No, remember the gal in Minneapolis who was arrested for breaking into the church, and she ran her not-for-profit where she was giving money away to indigent people, but every year...
Yeah, but she wasn't paying herself at all. She didn't make any money off that. She wasn't making any money off.
She was making like $200,000 a year plus her help.
She was?
Yes, John. Come on. She was getting paid more than the charity was paying out. Now think about that for a minute. I still go back to, as a young man, and once upon a time I was a young man working at the original KSLQ. We did, I don't know if I've told this story before. We did a bunch of stuff for Muscular Dystrophy Association. We did all sorts of stuff for them. That was our station's big charity promotion.
And what do leaders of nonprofits have to say about how it works?
I was a naive, stupid guy back then. I was a naive, stupid young guy. Now I'm a naive, stupid old guy.
And you were let me guess, Brad, were you doing any sort of promotion for this event? And then what did you find out about the way that those folks view money and donations?
We were working our butts off for these people, and we got no money. I mean, zero. It's charity. We're helping them out.
Which was your decision to work for free, right? So go ahead.
Well, at a thank you luncheon given by Muscular Dystrophy to the staff of the radio station, I approached the guy who was relatively young at the time. I'd say probably early 30s. I was in my 20s at the time. And I went up and I shook his hand and I said to him, look, I really want to congratulate you for, doing all this work for free for Muscular Dystrophy Association. And he looks at me and he says, I don't do this for free. I get paid real well to do this. I'm thinking to myself, what? What is this? Get what I'm saying, John?
Yeah. So what you're saying is that working for free, someone who does that while other people profit off your hard work, the person who works for free is a sucker.
I don't think that, I know too much about this, and I don't want to get I know people that run two people that run not-for-profits, and they talk about this all the time, that it's not a tough job, and you get paid very well. And my problem I have with that is that and like the KDHX thing, they ran it as a not-for-profit, okay? They have a piece of real estate in the city of St. Louis that they bought. Guess how many real estate taxes they paid, John? Guess how many?
A whole bunch, right?
Zero, because they're not for profit. No. Just like a church. Yeah, just like a church. They pay no real estate taxes. When they filed something in the FCC, they had to, like I have to pay like $200 or $300 for every filing I do with the FCC. Guess how much money they paid to the FCC when they did a filing, John? Take a guess.
0.0.
Right, exactly. And when all these things, happen to the point where if they go to like the store and they're buying equipment for the radio station, guess what tax rate they pay, John? Guess what tax rate it is?
50.0.
0.0.
Zero?
See, the whole thing with this thing is, and the sad part of this is, okay, let me break it to you quite easily. The KDHX board, they declare bankruptcy. The $2 million is paid to their creditors. They end up with $6.75 million. There are probably, off the top of my head, I could tell you probably 4 or 5 radio stations that are on the air right now with pretty decent signals. If they went to them and say, hey, we got $6.75 million. We want to buy another radio station. They go, well, let's sit down and talk about this. Get what I'm saying, John?
I get it. Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. And so as this moves forward, the big winners in this conspiracy, which I think was hatched, according to you, a few years ago, who's making out with the best amount of money? Do you have any particular names or entities?
All you have to do is just look at the board. I mean, that's who the...
And do you know who's on the board?
Off the top of my head, I think we named one of the gals. Well, 2 of the board members, they're married. The gal who runs it, she's married to somebody else on the board. And remember, the crazy thing about this is the thing that especially got everybody's panties in a bind on this thing. The way the charter was set up, wherever the charter was, or the organization, articles of organization, or whatever the deal was. I don't know how it was set up legally, but each one of the volunteers got like a half a vote or something like that. Okay. That's why they fired all those people, because when they fired all those people, they no longer had a vote because they weren't on the board anymore. It would be like me walking into the boardroom of Anheuser-Busch and let's say there's 30 people on the board and there's 16 of the people that don't like what I'm doing. And I go, okay, you 16 people, you're out. and then who's left? My 15 people that love what I'm doing. So that's the whole problem with boards, and especially with the not-for-profits, because they're like unlike a public corporation that has to be all shown and all, with 401, what do they call it, 10Ks, all this stuff. They have to, divulge all that information to the SEC and stuff like that. When you're not for profit, you got nobody looking over your shoulder. It's just like, for example, this guy right here. Hold on a second. I can find him right a minute. Hold on a minute. John's going to go, oh, here he goes again. Here, this guy right here, John.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Kenneth Copeland. There's a couple videos online of people who've snuck into his compound down in Dallas. And it's pretty funny. It's funny stuff. And to the point where there's this guy, who John, I don't know if he calls this some, it's interesting because he does all the religious stuff. John Christ, C-R-I-S-T, John Christ. He's an interesting guy because he's like a religious comedian, and I think he's played at the Factory. I think he's been here in town, and he does some really funny stuff. But they did a video where they snuck into Creflo Dollar's congregation in Atlanta. You know who Creflo Dollar is?
No, I don't.
Creflo Dollar is when I used to watch all the Sunday morning religious shows, Creflo Dollar was my favorite. He is this incredibly funny, charming, well-spoken dude, and he's a black guy. I mean, he is slick. He is so good. Man, I used to watch it every Sunday morning. And they went into, and the interesting part of it was, they have to go into his church, and they go through metal detectors. And both of these guys, John Kristen as an associate, were wearing body pack mics, to the point where they had like the wireless mics on them with a little lapel thing, but they had like the transmitters like it was on their belt loop in the back and stuff like that. They thought that was going to knock trip off the metal detectors, but it didn't. So they go into the church and they're chronicling this whole thing, and they talked about how it was like run like a machine. And it was interesting because most of the time, the thing they talked about, most of the time, Creflo Dollar doesn't even do the sermons anymore. But on this particular Sunday, it was actually Mr. Dollar himself. And they talked about how he did such a good job. And he did the thing where people went up in front of the church and, like somebody would walk up like me, like dragging a leg and could hardly walk. And Creflo Dollar would put his hand on their forehead and push them back. And they'd fall on the ground, or where they would fall on the ground. And people would catch them as they fell on the ground. And then they'd get up and they'd like do jumping jacks. And they'd do splits on the ground. Oh my God, he cured him.
Yeah, they do burpees actually.
Right. And then at the end of the sermon, all the guys come around with, and they didn't use collection plates. They used collection bowls. They had like these bowls. They look like plastic bowls, like, put like a bunch of ice cream in or something like that. One of those, like the 2-gallon ice cream tubs. And the guys would walk around and people were throwing cash in there. I'm thinking to myself, that guy doesn't pay a penny in taxes. His church is tax-free. His car is tax-free. This guy right here, you know what he does, John? You know what this guy does?
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
He flies around in his private jet, which he pays no taxes on. And when he files something with the FAA, guess what? Guess how much he pays to the FAA for filing fees?
75%.
0.0. So.
Oh, no. Now, Brad, I know that you've worked with some religious folks, and you're creating a competitor called Worship 2. And I know that they're a competitor to the Worship 1 station. How is that going?
John, that station is insufferable. I'm telling you, it is nothing but slow, plodding music. It's just like, see, I'm the kind of guy, I don't like slow songs. Matter of fact, one of the things I did, and you can ask Shelley Barr about this. Matter of fact, you know what? You know what?
Oh, no. Are we going to annoy Shelley? You annoyed Mayor Lowry, and now you're going to bug Shelley?
We only got 2 minutes left here.
And I got to leave at 8 o'clock, so this might not be the wisest idea, but go ahead. I'll just drop off at 8 if we need to.
You'll just disappear on me. Hold on, I don't know if I can get it up this quick. That's what she said.
Boy. There you go, Brad.
Okay, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. I've got Wi-Fi. No, it's on Bluetooth. Bluetooth. I got to do this crap. I can't just plug it in anymore. That's what she said, right? John's gonna have a field day with this. Okay, hold a minute. 3, 1, 4. Okay, I'm going to make a quick call here. We've got 1 minute and 15 seconds left, okay? See if this is going to work. No answer yet. Come on, Shelly, answer the phone. I don't think she's going to answer. I'm going to get her voicemail. I tried. Okay, when I started Westplex,
Your call has been forwarded
one of
to
her
an
voicemail. When I started Westplex 107.1, and I told Shelly what kind of music I was going to play, I told her something very interesting. And I don't know if you've noticed this about Westplex 107.1. We play no slow songs. There's no.
No, but you play that Evanescence song all the time. My Immortal. I hear it at least 3 times a day.
We never play that song.
You've played it 4 times a day.
It's a slow, plodding song. We don't play that kind of music. We play up-tempo. Matter of fact, the same thing in God Squad. We play music that gives you productivity, positivity, and prosperity. That's the kind of music we play, John.
And in Black History Month, pancakes for Aunt Jemima. It's the 4 Ps.
The 4 Ps. John, say
Brad,
goodbye.
I can't wait to talk to you, and I'll be so happy that it's Thursday.